everybody. Thanks for being here with me this evening. It's really a pleasure to see all of you in the room, and I kind of want to get a gauge of who's here. So I want you to raise your hand, but I want you to keep your hand up, okay? So is anybody here an entrepreneur? Hand up, okay? Is anybody here corporately employed? Keep them up. Okay, hands up. Is anybody here retired? I want to be retired, right? Hands up. Is anybody here a mom? Hands up, okay? Is anybody here a grandmother? An aunt? A sister? Okay, good. I want you to look around the room. We have a lot of common bonds that we're united by. We probably all have a really interesting story as to how we got here this evening as well. And I'm going to share a little bit of my journey and my story with you. There's a couple of things I have in common with a lot of you that are out there tonight. Yes, I'm a mom. Oop. Sorry. Am I good? Okay. Yes, I'm a mom. I have an amazing little girl that's a 6-month-old. Yes, I'm a business owner. And yes, I've been corporately employed. I'm also a sister, not a grandmother yet. Hopefully not for a long time, right? My baby's 6 months old. And hopefully someday soon to be retired, right? So I say this because a couple of years ago, my life looked drastically different than it does right now. I was in a different business model at the time. But let me backtrack for just 1 second so I can paint a really clear picture for you. So I was corporately employed for 9 years, and I was just going along because that's what I thought I was supposed to do, you know? I had a business degree, and I was doing pretty good. I climbed the corporate ladder. I had created this pretty successful company in corporate America. It was a sister company, and we did $1.2 million in sales our first year in business. I felt proud. I felt like, oh my gosh, I've made it, right? But I really had no ownership in that company. And that became very apparent to me when my income was cut by 2/3. So I had my back up to the wall. I said, whoa, is this really happening? You know, I worked 9 years in this space. I worked really hard. I did what everyone says you're supposed to do. And then here I am, and my income's being cut by 2/3. Wow, I'm a fiery little New Yorker, if you haven't noticed. And I thought, this is it. Nobody's going to take advantage of me, and I'm going to make a stand for myself right now. And I told myself at that moment in time, and it's something that I've lived by since then, that I was never going to let anyone control my time, my freedom, or my level of success again. So I went on to start my own business. It was a huge success, right? Nope, not so much. So within the first year, I was buying every course, every program, every type of help, and I was trying to be the expert of everything. What ended up happening, which I'm sure you've heard before, is that I was quickly the master of none. Not only that, but I was over $100,000 in debt. I was financially responsible since the age of 18, and here I was, logging into my bank account at age 30, calling my mother to supplement my rent that month. Yeah, that was my coming to Jesus moment, is what I call it. Not a conversation you want to have with my mother, okay? She's like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, just trust me, trust me. I just need an additional $500 this month, but I promise you, my wheels are in motion, I'm going in the right direction, I'm gonna turn this around. And I did. I kept my word. I was in the process of launching the company that I own now. And my company's name is called Success Society. My company was born out of my own experience. My company was born because when I was in the space of being $100,000 worth of debt, I was struggling. I was in over my head. And I had this polished up brand and business because that's what I thought you were supposed to do. I thought you were just supposed to show up, and then all the other parts and pieces behind the scenes were going to probably work out, hopefully, right? Well, not in this case. So I started getting real with it. Instead of hiding behind my story, I thought, well, what the heck? Why don't I start sharing it, right? What do I have to lose? I'm already in this boatloads of debt. And so I hired a private mentor, and you're probably thinking, well, how'd you do that in $100,000 worth of debt? And I'm like, listen, I was $100,000 worth of debt. What's an extra $2,000 a month? Not much. So I hired a private mentor, and I did a lot of work on myself. And something really critical happened in that time, and it was like I had overcome myself. You know, I'm sure that everybody here in this audience has experienced something in life that has left them feeling not so great. It might be even something that they don't actually recall has ever happened to them. So when I was a small child, about 8 years old, and for quite a number of years, I was significantly bullied. I had no idea that this was actually prohibiting me from taking my business to the next level until I was able to really remove all that stuff, all those layers, all those years that had compressed and repressed that information and get it out of me. I said, oh my God, this is crazy. How could I have let that 8-year-old person affect the rest of my life and my success? And so with admitting that, I was able to overcome myself. And it was the most transformational experience that I had ever happened, right? Something I had never felt before. And at that moment, I thought, I'm onto something. Because if I'm feeling this way, if there's got to be another woman out in the world that I can connect with, and just by sharing my story, maybe I can give her some support, you know? Maybe she'll feel a little bit better. Maybe she'll feel inspired to do something. Maybe she'll take a little bit of action that next day, you know? And I felt called that because I had this powerful experience in my own life that I needed to share it. Because what good is it if we're not here to help each other, right? So I told my mentor at the time, I'm gonna create this community, okay? $100,000 worth of debt, yeah. I'm gonna create this community because I need to build community amongst women. I need to link arms with women to show them that there's no competition that exists in the world, that together we're stronger, right? I'm good at one thing, but you're good at another, and you're good at another, and you're good at another. So together, there's no struggle, right? So I started this community against his wishes. He thought I was crazy. A lot of people in my life have told me that. But I did it anyway, and within 45 days, I hit my first $20,000 a month in business. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that because when you step fully into your purpose, magic will happen, okay? My community continued to grow. I have multiple communities now, and that's the number one reason that we're all here today. Because community and each other, we all matter equally. And we all can contribute something to one another's lives if we can tap into exactly what that is. So over time, my business continued to grow, right? And there was 3 major things that happened that really allowed me to take my business to the next level. So I want to talk about these things with you today. The first piece was the belief in myself, right? Naturally. I mean, we have a tendency, and especially women, I work with only women, by the way. So we have a tendency, like I said, especially women, that we have these beliefs or these stories that we hold on to as these truths. And we allow these so-called truths to define who we are in society, in life, at home, to our husbands, to our families, to our children. But that's not who we are. You know, each and every one of you can decide today when you leave this that you're really going to become the person you're meant to be. So that morning when I woke up, or maybe in that evening, or when I took a shower, whatever, I don't necessarily remember, I became that person. But I became the person that I always was under all those layers and all that negative talk. And so the number one thing was the belief in myself. And also a big piece of that was gratitude. So regardless of where I was at that time, even the big $100,000 worth of debt, I had to pay gratitude for my situation. Because gratitude allows for expansion. So I have 2 little books still to this day on my nightstand, not because they're my favorite books, because they're a constant reminder that I am grateful every single day that I wake up. I am grateful to be here right now. I am grateful that I get to go home and see my baby tonight when I leave. I am grateful for a million things. And with gratitude, I get more things to be grateful for, and more things to be grateful for, and more things to be grateful for. So my perception is really to focus on the positive, right? So that was one of the things. The next thing was I had to train my brain for success. So it doesn't matter if you're here and you're corporately employed, or you're retired, or you run a business, or you're a mom, or whatever it is, it's equally important. But you have to show up as your best self first, right? In order for the rest to follow. So I had to train my brain for success. I want you to think of, athletes out in the world. Do you think that they're like, oh my God, tonight's game is gonna be so hard, we're probably gonna lose, why even show up? No, this doesn't happen. And it's the same thing in everything you do in life. And how you do that is you actually look at the outcome of the situation that you desire. It does not matter how you're gonna get there. And in most cases, at least in my journey, it's looked a heck of a lot different than I ever imagined. But that's okay, the how doesn't matter. If you focus on your desired outcome, whatever it is, You're gonna have a great trip. You're gonna focus on your arrival, coming to St. Augustine from Miami, right? You're gonna have a great trip. You're gonna reach no traffic, all this stuff. You're projecting something that's super positive, and as a result, your day's gonna go probably pretty well, right? I mean, who's ever woke up in the morning and you got toothpaste on you, and then you spilled coffee on the way to work, and it's like, why is this all happening? It's because you're focusing on this. This is what you're focusing on. So we want to focus on the win, and whatever that is. How are you going to feel when your kids go to sleep? That's the feeling you have to focus on. Because really, in reality, you're going to bring yourself closer to that. So the last piece to the puzzle is that you have to be willing to shift. And I'm talking shift quickly, right? So in building my previous business and then really making this huge jump, this huge leap, she is fierce, leap, right? I made a lot of big decisions, and maybe a lot of big decisions that not everybody agreed with me about. But I kept going because I believed in the vision. I kept going because I knew the impact that I could have on just one woman's life, just one woman. That's where it started. And I kept going. And then today, this year alone, actually, I have a team of people that work with me. I have impacted 1,200, maybe a couple more as of today, entrepreneurs, lives, and businesses in a significant way. And I have clients that are literally killing it in the world, doing amazing things, stepped into their power, into their purpose, and have the snowball effect of impact that we can all bring when we fully do what we're supposed to do. So regardless of what got you to here this evening, I want you to think about it for a second. Who am I? Because that was the biggest turning point for me. Who am I really? And I wasn't that person that was in that previous business that had my back up against the wall, that wasn't utilizing my greatest strengths. And I wasn't that person that was sitting on a desk in corporate America and was just saying yes to everybody. That's not Stephanie Nickolich. Stephanie Nickolich was brought into this world because she had a gift to share. And that gift was meant to impact and create a ripple effect to impact more and more and more women around the world. That's why I'm here. So I want you to think about it when you leave this evening, whatever you can take away from this conversation. Maybe it was the belief in yourself. Maybe it was envisioning the outcome, training your brain for success. Or maybe it was the ability to make shifts and changes along your journey. Don't stay stuck to one idea, right? Because that idea might not be the thing that gets us there. But I tell you, together, in this space, in this community, we are 100% more powerful together than we ever are alone. So I thank each and every one of you for being here with me this evening, and I want to leave you with this little piece of hope for what's possible. Because I'm up here because I'm just another example of that for you. So thank you very much.
So the thing that I am most impressed about with Stephanie, and the reason I originally reached out to her, right? So I was saying, people reach out to me all the time. They're like, how did you do it? What are you doing? And I was like, oh my God, how is she doing this? Not just from a business perspective, but because I really admired her attitude, right? Which you talked a little bit about. And I really admired that she was willing to just put herself out there, right? And that's something that is so challenging, whether you're on social media, whether you're in your business, and just in life. And it's something that I think that we all struggle with, and whatever it is, whatever that person is that you're worried about what they're gonna say or what they're gonna think, and it's something that we have to kind of work through. And you just seem to do it naturally. So can you talk a little bit about how you got to that place?
I'm like him. Putting myself out there. Well, I thought, what do I have to lose? In my previous business, I didn't put myself out there. I was not the brand, right? I created this beautiful, polished brand, but it wasn't me. And I was connecting with people. I'm like a total educational junkie. I had to put myself on okay, slow down for a second. But at the time, I was a total educational junkie, and I was going to a lot of conferences all over the US. And a lot of people would meet me, and they would see my business, and they would say, oh my God, so cool, we love it, great, but where are you? I was like, what do you mean, where am I? Why do you want to know this small town girl from New York? Which totally relates back to the experience of I was diminishing my own voice, And until I said, what do I really have to lose here? If I put myself out there, well, maybe someone's gonna like me, or I'm gonna share my story and they're gonna get impact from it, or they're inspired, or maybe they're not gonna like me. And then I'm like, do I really care? And so as an entrepreneur or a business owner or anyone that's really trying, social media is incredibly impactful, but you do have to get uncomfortable and you do have to put yourself out there. And so once I started doing it, and for me, it wasn't even about the visibility, it was more about the impact that I could have in somebody else's life. And I tell it to my clients all the time, I'm like, because it's hard to get over, it's like a new way of thinking, it's fairly new, you know? So not everybody's used to it. And so they're like, oh, this is tough, should I put this blog out, should I write this article? I'm like, what if you can impact one person in a significant way? Would you do it? They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, there's your answer.
Yeah, okay, so I was sharing with Stephanie that when I first started She Is Fierce, I had this big dream, this big vision, and one of the things that was in my mind was not what are people that I care about gonna think, right? It was what are my former colleagues at my big fancy job gonna think that I'm doing this crazy online business, right? And so that was one of the things that I think for when we connected that I was so impressed because it's something that is so challenging and that now they call me up and say, wow, this is so cool what you're doing. And for me, I'm being, really putting it out there, but for me that was the biggest challenge, was doing all the stuff I really wanted to do and doing it in front of the people who I wasn't even great friends with, right? Who weren't people who had some deep, meaningful impact on my life, but who their opinion mattered to me. And I think that's something that is so challenging for us and that I think is inspiring that you're doing every day. I see you every day doing that. So we're gonna open up the floor to Q&A and Brandy is gonna walk around. So can we get our first question?
No questions.
I know it's hard, always first person. Brittany's in the back.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Brittany. I'm wondering exactly what you do. I
Yeah,
haven't really
that's a
researched
big
anything.
question.
So
How long do you have? No. So I am a sales funnel success strategist. And so the best way for me to describe that is basically what I do is I help service-based entrepreneurs take their skills and strengths and kind of create presence that is impactful. So from the point of entry, when someone finds you, to the initial conversation, to the determination whether they love you or hate you, and they come into your list, into your business, into your home, and you cultivate that relationship so that you can sell them products or services at different stages of the game, right? Because we cannot be everything to everybody all the time. So what I do in my business is I leverage the support. So you're leveraging yourself out of your business, if that makes any sense, but you have offerings, using your skills, using your strengths, using your talents, that you can teach people along the way at different price points how to do things.
So Brittany, who just asked that question, is the founder, I don't know if you guys all know this, but she's the founder and a very impressive local woman of St. Augustine Fashion Week, who actually came to our event last year, and I was so moved because she called and was inspired to start something. She was like, wow, you really can do amazing things in this area. I'm gonna make it happen. And she had an incredible sold out first Fashion Week and is doing another one this fall. So sorry, I have to give you a little shout out there.
Yay!
All right, where's our next question? Oh, you got one?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm curious about the 2 books you have on your bedside table because reading's really important to me. I find a lot of inspiration for the work I do comes from the work of others. So I was curious what inspired you.
Yes. So the 2 books on my night table are just the reminder, but that's Magic and The Secret. My favorite book, although, that I carried around for like 3 months straight, scribbled all in it, turned the pages over, is Ask and It Is Given.
I love that. Where's our next question? Right over here.
Yes?
Stephanie.
Okay. I'm just curious, when you know inside your heart and your soul that there's something you're supposed to do, you're supposed to be an entrepreneur, you were put here to impact people, but you don't know what it is. How do you get to that level? How do you get to that point where you can sell what you know you're supposed to do, but you don't know what it is?
Don't know what it is yet? So the clarity piece you're missing.
A lot of clarity.
Okay. A lot of clarity.
A lot of clarity, thank you.
You joined She Is Fierce now.
She's a member.
So I would say, when exactly for me was it that I got the clarity piece? Well, I started to do a lot of inner work. I started doing personal development. It was through reading books, but it was also through the guidance of a mentor, right? Just adopting different activities on a daily basis because I was not showing up like I needed to show up, right? And most people are like, we limit ourselves. So I would say, for starters, like, what are you most passionate about, you know? And what are you the best at? Like, what are you better than like anybody else? And it's probably something you were born doing. It's not even something you can train yourself to do. It's like you were doing this as a kid. So when I went back, my like 8-year-old self was a business builder. Funny enough, like I started a museum in my basement and I monetized it. Like nobody came down there unless they paid me. You know, and so we're on to something, you know? So you start looking for those things into who you are, and then like what lights you up. So for me, it was like I wanted to make an impact with women. I wanted to link arms with women. I wanted to empower women, and I wanted to help them really overcome themselves and their mindset, because I had this powerful transformation in seeking clarity, okay? So I was working with a mentor, reading all these self-help books, self-development books. I have a lot of them around. And I was just, something just happened. Like it wasn't like this one moment, it was just this one moment that it was just like, aha, this is it. I've got to create community amongst women. Like we can do this together and we don't need to struggle and we're not in competition, oh my gosh. And that was kind of how it started. And then I was like, what does this mean, you know? And I kind of waited. I was like, okay, like, you know, I believe that when we are conscious of the world around us, that we always have the answers. So the answer might be already present in your life, but you haven't paid quite attention to it because it might be different than what you're doing right now. And so instead of paying attention to it, we offer it resistance, right? So keep looking, it'll probably come to you. But like for a quick little activity that you can do is like, what are you, top five things you're most passionate about, right? Things that light you up inside. Like if I gave you $1 million today, I actually just put it in your bank account while we're sitting here. And you can go to sleep tonight and you wake up tomorrow and you don't have bills, okay? Like I have clients that are like, well, I paid my bills. No, that's taken care of, okay? What would you do that day? What would you do when you woke up? The other thing is like, what are you really good at? And let's create something out of that, you know? Because you can create whatever it is that you want in life, and I'm the 100% example of that.
I went to dinner with Stephanie last night, and then we've been out all day today together doing things. And I think pretty much everybody we've encountered, she's been like, so what's the entrepreneurial thing that you're going to do with your life? So we had our waitress last night. She's going to become an entrepreneur now after meeting Stephanie. So anybody in here who is an entrepreneur needs to stay and actually chat with her after. But I think we have time for one or two more questions if we've got one over here.
How did you get over the bullying? 'Cause that lasts with you forever.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Well, I worked with a mentor, like I said. That was like one of the biggest things. And you know, when I looked back, I actually didn't even know when I started working together that was holding me back. I really didn't even know. So if that happened to you and you are familiar with it, you do know that. Then I was trying to put things in perspective when I did know. I said, this like 30-year-old self is gonna let that person like bully me today? Like I have things to do. Like I have a purpose in life, you know? Like once I looked at it and like looked at it in a different way, I was like, I'm stronger than this. You know, and the thing is, don't do it alone. Talk to somebody else that's been through it. Form community, that's what we're all here for. We have this amazing bond between all of us that are here today. You know, she's got a community, I have a community of like 12,000 women almost in the world. And like, if something's holding you back, talk about it. Instead of hiding behind it and keeping it inside, say, you know what, when I was a kid, it really did bother me that I was bullied. But today, I'm gonna be better from it. I'm not gonna let it control my life, right? I feel like when things come up in life, especially as an entrepreneur, you get a lot of stuff thrown in your direction. But you always have a choice. It's like, okay, am I gonna choose to let that affect me today in a negative way? Or am I gonna choose to go in this direction and continue on with the day? And so, you know, the choice is always yours. So every day you wake up, until you just get used to kind of programming yourself to do it, I would ask, today I have a choice. What's it gonna be? Am I gonna surrender to these feelings, or am I gonna use my voice?
Yes. Okay, one more. Good time for one more in the back.
Oh, we have a joint question. My girlfriend and I were just chatting. We're like, so you took a leap of faith. You were struggling. Who was supporting you besides yourself so that you could continue on this giant leap of faith? Because I know my mom's been there and got my back a couple times, and a couple times I've been really hungry. But so who was your number one supporter that kept you through this long process?
Are you talking about a financial supporter?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, nobody.
Okay.
I didn't have a financial supporter. I had unsecured credit card loans, a lot of them. I did whatever it took. You know, I think that there's this something, it's not necessarily, I don't know, maybe you are wired with it. I call it the fire in the belly. I call it the determination to do whatever it takes. I didn't have a plan B. My family couldn't support me. I didn't have a significant other that was in a place to do that. So I figured it out. I showed up. I used my resources. I did take a lot of unsecured loans out, which amounted to a large amount of debt, but I did it because I felt like I was called to do something bigger. When you put, for me especially, I mean, when you put yourself on the line, you show up. Like, there's no turning back. You make it happen. And that's exactly what I did. And I paid off that debt in just a little over a year, actually. So you can do it. Whatever it takes, if you really want it, you'll make it happen.
All right. Well, can I ask everyone to stand up and give her a big round of applause? Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank you.